Hi there, fellas. Hope everyone's safe and utilizing this opportunity to learn new stuff, spend time with family, and develop some necessary cooking skills by now, too. Welcome to the Quarantine Podcast, Episode 3, brought to you by Initiative of Red Biz, emerging startup of NIFTIM students, and Prakriti, the Environment Society of NIFTIM. We try to come up with greater scope for learning from the brightest minds. I would love to welcome Mr. Sudhir Arora, currently Regional Executive Chef at Travel Food Service, HACCP Master, having 25 years of experience, share his wisdom and knowledge with us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thank you for the welcome, and I'm doing good. Thank you so much.
Very well, sir. I'd like to know what intrigued your passion towards this culinary business, sir.
Okay, initially it wasn't very passionate about being in the culinary business, but when I went to do my hotel management in Ahmedabad, I saw the various departments, learned about all different aspects of the hotel. Then over the years, I understood that culinary is one of the spaces, one of the areas where you can actually do what you want. So it had a lot of leverage and a lot of free hand to be taken. You can innovate, you can research, you can do a lot of things. So that's what it got me interested in doing.
That's great, sir. So how is airline food exactly made to be served at 30,000 feet?
So in the airline industry, we usually have a very clear idea quite a clear idea of what the next day's orders are going to be, because it's kind of a fixed business. So we know how much food is to be prepared for the next day. As I said, we start about 18 hours before the flight takeoff. So we prepare the basic vegetables, we thaw the meat, then it goes to from the pre-prep areas, it goes to the main kitchen with different sections where it is cooked. If it's a steak, it's cooked. If chicken breast is cooked in a particular way to the requirement, rice is cooked, vegetables are cooked. Then all that food is blast chilled in a blast chiller. So blast chiller is something where the temperature of food which is cooked is about 85-90 degrees. And once you put it inside the blast chiller, the temperature of food is brought drastically down to 5 degrees. It all happens within 4 hours. So the blast chiller gives a thrust of very cold air to the food, and it keeps revolving the air. So the temperature of food comes down to 5 degrees. And it's all monitored. It has to be within that time frame, within 4 hours. It has to be below 5 degrees. Those are norms and those are strict conditions which are applied to that food, because all airlines want the food to be safe. Like you are an FTM students, you will be aware of the food safety things, that the danger zone is between 65 and 5 degrees. That's why we keep the food below 5 degrees. So the keeping quality and the duration of food is extended. After it is chilled, it's moved to a cold room where it is again stored at 5 degrees. And then it is portioned in an area which is very cold, about 12-13 degrees usually it's supposed to be. But if it is the temperature of the area is not 12-13 degrees, the food is kept under 10 degrees. So they do batch portioning to the requirement of the airline. How many meals, chicken meals they want, they'll portion 100 chicken meals if they want. They'll portion 20 veg meals, 30 Jain meals, like that, according to the requirement of the airline. And then they're again put in another cold room where it is ready to be dispatched to the airline. So all this process is going on during the day, and once they are packed, it is almost time for the flight to be boarded and the food has to reach the aircraft. They are loaded in a truck which is again cold, a refrigerated van kind of a thing, but it's a different truck, and the food is loaded in those trucks. It is sent to the airport where it is loaded in the cold cabinets. So once the aircraft starts taking off or goes on the runway, that food crew takes out from the cold cabinets, puts inside the oven and reheats. So that is when you get your food on board.
So what are the possible problems with the reheating process?
So reheating process is quite tricky because on board the airline it is not a regular oven which we can maintain the humidity or reheat in a microwave. It's a old conventional ovens mostly, so the humidity is not there. It's a dry air oven. The food which you prepared, it's prepared very well, but it goes dry if it's overheated or if it's not heated properly to the right time and temperature. It is underheated. It's cold to eat. So when the passenger eats, it's tasteless. So these are a lot of things during the reheating also, which may go wrong. So you have to be very careful that what time the food has to be kept inside the oven, for how long it has to be kept inside. So there are ways and means. There are alarms, there are temperature control knobs, which the crew is trained to take care of. So different foods are heated for different times. All that training is done for the crew also.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
So the food is served at higher altitudes, obviously.
Right.
So like there must be some changes in the flavors. So how is the flavor management done? And I guess humidity plays a very important role in the flavor change. So sir, can you please
Correct.
explain about
So
that?
in a aircraft, the cabin is pressurized. So that means normal atmosphere air is not there. It is pressurized air, and it's flowing at a very fast pace. So a lot of air passes through your nostrils every minute. Almost 3 times more air passes through your nostrils every minute than you are at the ground level. So what happens is you can't smell. As soon as you start taking off, your sense of smell diminishes. The taste buds diminish about by 30%. So you cannot actually smell or taste food unless it is prepared to be smelled and tasted at that level. So we have to be careful that we add more of some ingredients. We work with the recipes in a way that when you eat them on the that altitude, they are tastier. They are not bland to your tongue. So those things we have to manipulate and take care of on the recipe thing.
Can you explain how different proteins get treated, like fish, seafood, poultry, etc.?
So treatment of proteins is not very different from what we will do for the normal land restaurants, but we have to be careful on two aspects. One is the temperature and the hygiene aspect of the protein. So we have to cook them above 75 degrees for poultry, 63 degrees for egg, 65 degrees for the fish. So the microbiological elements are contained and they not multiplied. So that is one aspect we have to take care. Secondly, we have to make sure that when we are cooking, we don't cook it so much that microbes are not there, but the protein becomes very rubbery. So we have to be careful there as well. So usually we tend to make sure that the protein is juicy. It's cooked in a stew kind of thing. I would prefer that it's cooked in a stew or in a gravy, Indian gravy kind of a thing, so that it cooks well and it stays moist.
How the food which we have prepared will taste like at such high altitudes. Like we cannot prepare the food, then board a flight and then go at those higher altitudes and then chuck. Like that will be a very uneconomical process of doing that. So how is that done, sir? Like how do you ensure that this is the right taste?
So for us in India, we don't have pressurized cabin tasting centers. But Singapore Airlines, Cathay Airlines, all these airlines, they have a pressurized cabin in their flight kitchens, which are stimulate the airline environment on ground. So they make the food and taste inside them. For us, when we were starting, I started in the flight catering in the year 2001 actually. That time we did not have too many airlines also. We did not have too many tasting sessions with the airlines. But Jet Airways did one good thing, that they started sending chefs on board. So to audit and to speak to their business class guests. So what happened there, when we used to go, I knew I had made the biryani, and when I go on board and taste, I will be able to understand, okay, this is what is right here, this is what I can do to improve the flavor. So those things taught us a lot of things. We used to go on board, travel a lot also those days. So, I was there with the Uberes for about 14 years. So we'll travel Delhi to Bombay really very often. we would taste our food and we knew this is how it was made yesterday or day in the morning. And when we taste it, we know, yeah, this is what we can do to improve the food.
Right,
So
sir.
that helped us.
Right, sir. Sir, out of all the flavors, there's one flavor, umami, like that
Yeah.
savory and meaty flavor. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I've read that it tastes better than other flavors at high altitudes. So, what's the
That's
possible,
true.
what's the possible reason for that?
So there are a lot of studies which have gone into it, and people have not been able to pinpoint why it tastes better. But yes, we found out that the umami flavor enhances on board, like the flavor of mushrooms, tomatoes, things like that. It enhances on board. So that gives us a upper hand, and when we plan our menus, we plan it in a way that we include these menus in at least one of the courses, these items in one of the courses, so that passenger gets a good menu and good food to eat.
Right.
So, is there an integrated effect of music such as tinkling sound or soothing melodies with colors, flavors, aroma on the sweetness or taste as a whole?
So yes, colors, aromas, textures, everything is kept in mind when we are planning the menus. So what happens is, first of all, we have to keep budget in mind. The airlines is giving us some money. We have to keep that budget in mind, and then keeping that budget, we act on that and make a menu which has all those different colors, different textures, different tastes incorporated in the menu. So you will see airline food is usually very colorful.
Yes.
So even the economy class, the coach class as we call them, they have those. Maybe when you have a meal there, it'll have rice in between, maybe one palak ki sabzi or some saag or something, and then another red colored or different color gravy on the other side. So that is the reason we try to keep it balanced in the sense that the colors are different. It makes a good combination to look at, and obviously textures are there. Somebody with crunchy, soft, hard, everything will be there.
When flights get cancelled or delayed, as it happens so many times, how is that taken into consideration, and how does the planning process goes for that?
So any cancellation because of technical reasons or some reasons beyond our know-how or our imagination are, we can't really plan for them. I remember some time back we had a volcano ash in Europe. So for the next few days, about 5 days, all the flights going to Europe were cancelled all of a sudden. Evening we got the news, and from the late evening all the flights were cancelled. So we can't actually plan for them. Cancellations happen, something goes wrong in the aircraft, some technical issue, cancellations happen, we can't really plan. So, but yeah, because since we have a big kitchen and a lot of people are working there, additional requirements, we can cater to them very fast.
Right.
Some flight get cancelled and rescheduled, so they change their meal uplift. Suppose the breakfast flights get cancelled in winters due to fog, in Delhi especially. So all those flights get rescheduled for a later time. All the breakfast is removed and lunch is put on board. There's a huge demand of lunch all of a sudden. So because we have a big kitchen, we have a lot of people working, so we have that luxury of making so many meals immediately.
Right, sir.
So, in this case of unforeseeable circumstances when the flights are getting cancelled, how is waste management taken care of?
So all the airlines now they are becoming very conscious of their cost as well. So what happens is once the passengers are on board and the flight is delayed or cancelled for some reason, they make sure the passengers are served the food. At least they'll get that thing that they got some food to eat, and they don't get flack for not giving them any food. No? Passengers are always demanding. So they manage they serve the passengers that food, and then we also get less waste that way. But yes, once the food comes back to the flight catering, all that food is wasted. It's spoiled. We can't reuse it again.
Right, sir. Cost analysis must be an integral part of this planning menu process and designing process. So and you have been involved in that. So how is that done, sir? Can you provide a brief insight on that as well?
So, like I mentioned earlier, each airline has a budget for their passenger food, even for the crew food, everything they have a budget. So we get to know that budget during discussions and we plan our menus based on that budget.
Right.
So somebody would pay us higher amount, somebody would pay us lower amount. The menus show and the menus incorporate such kind of material, raw material, where which just shows the budget.
Right, sir.
So if somebody is paying very high, it will have much higher quality ingredients, much elaborate menus, and vice versa.
Right, sir. What it is like in the head of an executive chef and a production manager, since you are an expert in HACCP, how do you actually implement such techniques, and what are the key factors which you keep in mind for the safety of the food prepared?
So, HACCP is not only safety of food, it is a lot of processes which go into preparing that food. So, people, we have to manage their hygiene. We have to make sure whenever they enter the kitchen, they wash their hands, they wear proper headgear, gloves whenever required. So, temperature of food is maintained all through. Initially, I told you, after blast chilling, it is kept inside a cold room at 5 degrees. It is portioned at less than 10 degrees. After portioning, it's again kept at less than 10 degrees. When it is transported to the aircraft, also the refrigerated van, which is again at less than 10 degrees. So all those procedures have to be followed very, very strictly, because one, Gufa gives us a very bad kickback. We get difficult situations, food may get spoiled, somebody may get sick, we can't afford to do that. So all our processes have to be 100% compliant.
Right.
And during our visits every day to different departments, we have a quality department which actually keeps taking random rounds and keeps checking people's hand swabs, equipment swabs, contact services swabs on a daily basis. They test raw materials, they test finished goods, they test water, they test ice. All those things are done very, very strictly and regularly,
Right, sir.
just to ensure that food is safe for the passengers to eat.
Right, sir.
But Singapore Airlines are able to provide fresh produce harvested just hours before flights, while others takes weeks. So how are they able to do that?
So Singapore Airlines provides that food for a very limited number of people. It's a very limited menu and only few people can opt for it. Small portions.
Yes, sir.
So it can be possible if we have a smaller portion or few number of meals. But when it comes to large volumes, it's really difficult to manage.
Right, sir.
Definitely.
So in one of the articles which you shared about some startup from Singapore which are using aeroponics for growing food for airlines. So sir, can you please
Right.
explain our listeners what aeroponics is and a little bit about what that startup is doing?
So aeroponics is basically growing food in air. So like if you are aware, hydroponics is growing food without absence of soil in water.
Right.
And every few hours or few times a day, nutrients are fed to the plant. In aeroponics, there is no water also. It's just they're hanging kind of in the air, and a fine mist is given to them every few hours so that nutrients reach them directly. It's a very good technique. It's, the plants grow really fast and they have a very different flavor from what the soil plants would be. But of course, it's very expensive and very new technology, right?
Right.
What's Indian scenario like in aeroponics?
I am not too sure if anybody is doing them in India. I have seen some hydroponic farms, but aeroponics I am not too sure. But definitely it's going to be a long way before it reaches the masses. You know.
Right.
We can't really do a very public thing right now with them.
Right, sir. Are we growing crops over airport rooftops as well? Because some airports in the world have done this thing, like they're growing fruit over their roofs. So, is this scenario practiced in India as well?
Oberoi Flight Services had a rooftop garden in their flight kitchen.
Okay.
Very nice small kitchen garden kind of a thing where we used to grow some herbs there, and organic of course. Our basil, our lettuce, some red cabbage, some lettuce used to come out from there.
Right, sir.
But not as a rule. Just it was a small herb garden, I should say.
Okay.
What is the need of art? Producing for millions through artificial means or organically producing less per hectare by nutrition?
So, if you ask me, I will say it is need of art is producing for the millions, and we have to actually feed all those people who are there. Yes, organic is the way to go, but first we have to take care of the people who are there, and we have to have enough food for everybody.
Right, sir. And sir, is just producing organically enough, or do we also need to ensure the success steps like storing organically, cooking organically?
Of course, the entire change has to be organic. For example, in a flight kitchen, you can't actually give organic food product because you are using chemicals to wash them. So once you use chemicals to wash organic vegetable, it's kind of gone.
Right. Right, sir.
As you know, the situation. So, what are the challenges during and post COVID-19 for the airlines food service industry?
So airline industry would have big challenges coming their way. Obviously, not many people would want to be traveling very soon. The restrictions are there that you have to be seated far apart from each other. You have to have that social distancing protocol, and of course, people would be wary of eating out as well for a long time. But airline catering industry is well versed in that because they've been doing these hygiene protocols for a very long time.
Right.
They're washing hands, their use of masks, the use of sanitizing themselves, shoe covers, their posting areas are actually very secure and sanitized every few hours. So the airline food is one of the safest food to eat right now, actually.
Right, sir.
I hope we are able to tackle these challenges. Thank you so much, sir, for providing such elaborative insights on this. Have a great day.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Same here. Thanks a lot.